red. Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Discuss the latest news, just fans giving their views. This channel is red. They see the bar and raise it, plus they rep for the ladies. Trust it's red. Female voices in football. Red. If you want to talk up, it's a red channel for me and you. Subscribe and tune into the Ladies in Red.
Hi guys, welcome back to Ladies in Red. We're back with another one. I'm absolutely delighted to say I'm joined by Webby again this evening. It's been a while, Webby, since we've had you on. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good, yeah. It's been a long time, hasn't it? But looking forward to this.
It hasn't, to be fair. Times have changed a lot, I think, since the last time we were talking as well. I mean, that face sums it all. And we'll get into it. Obviously, we'll get into it. But a lot of talk today about managers, so we're going to get straight into that because that is the topic of the video. Obviously, the front runners seem to be Poch and Ten Hag. I haven't asked you this because obviously it's been a while since we've spoken, but who would your preferred choice be, Webby, for the next spot at United?
It wouldn't be one of them two, if I'm being honest with you. But obviously their names won't seem to leave the building, I look at Pochettino, I think he's a good manager and done a great job at Spurs, but never won anything. He's managing a team now what should win 15-0 every week. They get beat 3-0 yesterday. People keep going on about his great football, but at the end of the day, you want the pots in your trophy cabinet. Going on to Ten Hag, for me, that Dutch league is a very poor league, probably 2 or 3 teams in it. Would he command the respect which the current regime at Old Trafford have not got off the players? I'm going to go back to when it all started with Martial saying he's not playing. Then you had Jesse Lingard saying he's not playing. Then Ronaldo jibs off to Portugal. None of this would have happened under Fergie. And it's coming out in the open for us fans to see. For me, someone will think it sounds like a Sunday pub team. Oh, I'm not playing tomorrow. I've got to work. I fancy a few pints tonight. I'm not bothering. We're in a mess. So we need someone who's going to get that off the players, and whoever they are, whether it's Ronaldo or Scott McTominay. And for me, the only person he'll come and cause a bit of trouble, but he'll sort him out is a kid we should have got from Spurs, Mr. Conte. But we've missed that boat, I think.
Yeah, I was with you on the Conte one. To be fair, I remember saying we need somebody who's going to put the rocket up these players. We need somebody who's going to come and put the foot down. We'll upset, obviously, the change room and whatnot, but. I think this club needs that. I think players have been getting away with it for far too long. I mean, know that issues are beyond that as well. But I feel like we needed someone with that ruthless mentality like Conte to come in and just instill, I don't know, a bit of discipline in these players. But yeah, Ten Hag, Poch, I think out of the two, I'd probably go more towards Ten Hag because of what you were saying, because of the lack of trophies in terms of Poch. And look, getting Spurs to the Champions League final was great. He got Spurs up to second as well. It's great. But he hasn't had a trophy to show for that. And I agree with you on that in that one as well. But Ten Hag, obviously, I think the way that he does play football at Ajax is exciting, isn't it? It's entertaining, it's high pressing. It's what we want to see as fans. Like, what's your thoughts on Ralph so far and what he's done? Because if we're honest with ourselves, I don't know what really he was expected to do coming in.
Well, I look at the man and I've seen all these comments when he first come into the club from top managers bigging him up, but then I also say to myself, well, if he's that good, why has he not been in a job somewhere else, not a sporting director? Why has he not been at a big club, But, I look at that first 20 minutes against Crystal Palace and I thought, wow, look at this, the pressing, the movement, the energy. Then it all stopped. What was it? So he was cheating us in the new manager for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. How they can play and press. I feel sorry for him because what can you do in 6 months? He's had all these people coming out, and I don't think he gets a lot of respect. He's proved that with the rumours what have gone around about people deciding they're not going to play. So I think he's done okay, but I also look at who could we really got for the 6 months. We might as well have kept Ola in my eyes. That's my own personal opinion, But the next thing is also, whoever comes into this club, it's got to be right this time because we make another mistake with another 5 years down the line again. We're already 100 million miles away from City and Liverpool. And it hurts me to say, but I'm just being truthful that the next appointment at the club, it's got to be the right one, given the right time, the right money, and ship the wrong ones out and get the people in who want to play for the club. Yeah,
and you mentioned there the right money for certain players. I've got to mention it. Harry Maguire, 80 million. Wan-Bissaka, 50 million. It's not that the money hasn't been thrown at it, is it, Webby? It's where that money's been thrown to. Like players like that, I mean, how can you explain that from a footballing point of view, like that perspective? How can a club blow money like that on players that quite simply aren't good enough?
Yeah, it's hard. I've got nothing against both lads personally. They're both probably two nice blokes, but not good enough for our football club. I seen a list the other day, and I've got a couple of mates in the press, and they told me that United got offered Cancelo from City, who was at City, for 25 million, and we turned them down. I'm thinking, I don't believe. I think Gary Neville had him at Valencia before he went to Juventus. And I think the doors were trying to be open there, and he got knocked back. And I'm thinking, is he a better fullback either side? He can play right, left. He's probably playing golf and do a good job in the Premier League, and I can't see it. We've just made some bad mistakes, some bad buys, but like you're saying, whoever the next person comes in, they've got to get it right because it's going to send us further down the line.
Yeah, as I said, the issue is that no matter which manager comes in, their hands will be tied. They have to be given the complete control of the club, and the board need to leave alone and allow the boss and his coaches and his staff. I'm guessing that is regards to like transfers and stuff like that. Yeah, it's frustrating because we know decisions from the top have been woeful as well. There's talks at the minute, Webby. I'll throw this one out there about Old Trafford being knocked down, rebuilt. What's your thoughts on that? The plans with that? Because it definitely needs some work, but to knock it down is another thing, isn't it?
So for years, I was privileged. We were living round the corner from Old Trafford. I'm privileged that I go to every match. Best stadium, I won't say in Europe, but in England. And then year after year, and I've been to these new stadiums, and it needs a lot of work doing. Where do you start? For years, you've been going on about making it to 80, 95,000 by building over the railway. I can remember that as a kid being talked at, But do we move? We can't move from Old Trafford. It's our home. Is in room enough at the back of the ground where the air handlers to build a stadium there. But I look, I go down near Old Trafford most days. We're filming with Tony, and I look at that framework again. It's all going mouldy again, and that just sums up my feelings towards the club itself. But where do we play? Tottenham, we're lucky by being able to play at London. We can't play at the Etihad because it's too small. They couldn't fit us all in. So what do we do? Do we build stand by stand? I don't know what the answer is, but something needs to be done. It needs to be done quick because I'd say, what would you say, Old Trafford is from being probably the best stadium in the Premiership, 9th, 10th now? I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Mid-table, bit like us at the minute, how we're playing, to be fair. True, you are right. It does reflect the state of the club. And look, Old Trafford, the nostalgia, the heritage, of course, it's quality. But when you do go to other grounds, particularly in London, like look at the new Spurs ground, for example, even the Arsenal ground, all modern, all new, and then you come to Old Trafford and it does seem like a wreck. I mean, to United fans, it's not, is it? Because it's, like say, you cling on to the heritage and the nostalgia of it, and it feels magical every time you go. But from a fan coming in, like it would look like a bit of a, I don't know, like you said, miles off the clubs in and around, and I do think something needs to be done. Completely knocking it down, I don't know. I'm not totally against it, but at the same time, obviously, it's the heart of us, isn't it? Like you say, you're privileged enough to live by it and see it probably every day. But we've got to move for the times, and I guess football's changing as well, isn't it? In that sense, we know it's a business now as much as more than anything. So it's one of them, isn't it? And talking about football, times changing and that lot. Rashford and Brandon Williams were the latest ones to have a picture, I think, at the UFC the other night. A lot of people have been kicking out on Twitter about it. I know Gary Neville's done a tweet that's rattled a few people as well. And Neville's tweet was basically, you wouldn't see players going out after a bad draw or something like this. You wouldn't see them out in a club or anything like that afterwards for a few weeks or something like that, he said anyway. Basically saying that these players don't care. I don't know if I see it that way, Webby. I'll let you have your opinion first on it. But yeah, they were out and about. Obviously, they're not selected for England and whatnot. I know the players have been given a bit of a longer break, I'm hearing. Do you personally have an issue with players being out and about and having these pictures taken?
Not really. They're human beings, aren't they, after all? It's going to be more things. Because like I said, years ago, you could probably sneak in a place if you was Roy Keane, Brian Robson, Norman Whiteside, and no one would notice you. But there's that many cameras now and people watching every move you make. I do feel sorry for him, but it's part of the territory playing for the big football club. Bad results, people are going to have a go at you, which in any walk of life, from being an ex-player or being a fan, it's hard. You've got to live the life. I wouldn't slag them off. But just go on holiday. Some of them need a break. For me, Marcus Rashford should have been put on a plane, forget about football for 2 weeks, and then give him back, because that's more strange how bad he's gone. We know what he can do, but he's gone so backwards, and there's something playing on his mind. There's something, You know, he's not been right for me. He should never have gone to the Euros. You know, he should have been made to have that operation because he never played in the Euros. You know, I know it wasn't part of it, being part of it, and they could have won it and all that. But at the end of the day, it's our club who pays wages. You know, and it's a massive season for Marcus next year because, you know, if it starts like it's going on, then, you know, I'll be gutted if he left the club, but we can't keep older people because they're born in Manchester, they've been in the club all their life. If they're not doing it, then they've got to leave. Yeah,
I agree. Rashford, I mean, it started last season when he was banging in goals for fun. And you think back to that like Chelsea free kick and stuff, what he is capable of as a player. He's capable of those special moments, but his form has been so far away from it, you can't even defend it. Like, it's been absolutely woeful. And for me, it is a lot about the body language. I know that, like you say, it looks like something's playing on his mind. It looks like his heart isn't in it. It looks like he's down in the dumps. But in terms of him being out socially and whatnot, I'm going to read this one from Show. He says, the Arsenal players who aren't involved in international duty are still training. I don't doubt that our players are still training. I don't think just because they've had a picture on a night out doesn't mean they're not training. He says, the culture at United is pathetic. What I would say, if these pictures were happening and it was whilst that they were meant to be at training, so certain players haven't turned up to training yet, you see them pictured out and about. And I can even understand to an extent the Cavani one when he was out and about and we hadn't seen him for 6 weeks or however long it is. I can understand why people would feel irate about that. I think that was like the night before the derby, wasn't it, or something? He was pictured out and about. That I can kind of understand because we haven't seen him for so long. You're thinking, but you're well enough to go out and about and do what you need to do. But we know he's a player who doesn't want to be here, and that's another one that we'll allude to in a minute. But that I can understand if it's affecting what they're doing on the pitch. But Rashford doing that, like say, in an international break, he hasn't been selected. I'm sure he's still training. He's an athlete. I'm no doubt they train every single day, but it doesn't mean they're not human and they can't go out. That's probably the only comment I'd have on it. They're still human. They still have a life, and they're still entitled to that.
Yeah, you know, definitely, you know, these other people been seen out and about. There's a concert in Manchester, I think 3 of them were there. No, it's just who they play for. You know, if it was, no disrespect, Aston Villa or someone, would people make a big deal? But it's Manchester United. It goes with the tennis. You go out after the defeat, everyone thinks you should stay at home. If we was winning, we wouldn't having this conversation. But obviously, it's not great at the moment, so people are just going to get on it. You know, so hopefully they have the little break, they back, and we put up a good performance against Leicester City a week on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, giving them an extra break, I don't know if I agree with that, to be fair, after the way we've been playing, but that's another issue in itself. But and let's refer to that the game against Madrid. Yeah. I'm still gutted, if I'm honest. I felt sick after that game because I felt like they were there for the taking, and quite simply we just didn't punish them. We started well, especially in that first half. I think frustrating is the only thing. I felt deflated after it because I didn't feel like we played awfully bad, but at the same time I didn't think they did anything special, and they were there for the taking, and we just couldn't nullify that. So
if you'll see what happens in a couple of weeks' time when you come up against City, you know, City will, unfortunately, we'll give them a lesson in football. You know, I'm not saying it's going to be a walkover, but I take City will probably win by 3 or 4 goals over the 2 legs. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I look at that team, but they just did it the old Spanish way. You know, Simeone, character, you know, slowed the game down when we was getting momentum, players going down. And he just done it in the Spanish way. We used to come up with that in the 80s. 90s, you know, that's the Spanish way. And like you said, they was there for the taking, but we had to score. We had to score that early goal when you're on top. You got to get that goal. And
if that Elanga chance goes in, I feel like it's a different game.
Of course, because they have to change their way of coming. Well, not really with the away goals because it wouldn't have counted anything different. But it's just the way they managed to slow the game down, and we played into their hands. And you look at the kid who played centre half and couldn't get a game at City. We're putting the ball in. That's his bread and butter. You know, he can take them all day long. You know, I just think tactically he wasn't right. I think the substitutions on the night were poor. And it was just very disappointing. Like you're saying, it was a game we should have won. You know, I've seen us play a lot worse and win this season. You know, and they was there for the taking and we never took it. And it's something the players in the club will look back on at the end of the season and say, that's a game we should have won.
Yeah, and it's not even like it was one of them games, you know, them ones where you had loads of efforts on target, loads of shots, loads of chances, and it just won't go in for us. We never really were knocking on that door. Do you know what I mean? And that's the frustrating thing for me. That I could kind of take a bit more. You know what? We gave it everything. I don't think I can put hand on heart that we gave it everything in that game, and that's what hurts me. And whether it's a lack of quality, substitutions, I agree with you. I think we're a bit baffling as well. There's a lack of rhythm in the game, and you have to give credit to Madrid for that as well. It's a combination of things, but simply we're just not good enough. And over the 2 legs, you'd have to say, I don't think we did deserve to go through. We didn't create enough, did we, over the 2 legs?
I think what do we have 6 or 7 shots in the 2 legs or something? I might be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, against a team who struggled this year defensively. You know, it shocked me before we played them. I looked at their goalkeeper's record, and I think he was bottom of the statistics in the Spanish league. And I'm thinking, well, these are the champions. You know, they've lost a few players, and by the way, they had a few players out as well. You know, who'd probably been in the starting 11. But I fancied us, you know, coming back 1-1. Fancied us to do them at Old Trafford. The crowd was up. Like you're saying, we played well first 20 minutes, but it's that lack of quality. That spark, that person to open the door. You know, that person was Juan Mata 8 years ago. You know, and it's just frustrating that we never really give it a good go. You know, second half 1-0 down years ago, the crowd would be sucking the ball in the net and we'd win that 2 or 3-1.
Yeah.
You know, but we never create. What we have 2 shots in the second half. You know, disappointed, but we move on. But it's made it worse. We're having no game. You know, you want that game straight away 3 or 4 days later to get that out of your system. But 3 weeks, you know, and it's only ourselves to blame by being poor this season. Yeah,
you're right. Only ourselves to blame. And obviously, England will be playing this week. I'm not sure if you follow international football as much as club. I certainly don't. But obviously, the squad was announced. Maguire and Shaw have made it in. We'll talk about that firstly. Sancho and Rashford. I mean, Rashford, I get it. But Sancho, he must be thinking, hang on. When I was playing poorly and I just joined United, I was in the squad. When I'm playing well and I've hit form, I'm not in the squad. What must I be doing wrong? I mean, from a selfish point of view, I'm like, all right, then it'll be fresh for us, of course.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on Southgate's decisions?
I think very strange. You know, I think he's a very average manager. That's my own personal opinion. You know, maybe after the Euros, he could have got himself a league back in the league somewhere. You know, he's got to the final of a major competition of world football. Obviously, the FA come out and give him a new contract, but if he wanted to prove himself, he shouldn't have paid. Do you know what, Soph? For me, don't pick any United players. You know, I'll be happiest man in the world, but obviously that's going to happen. But strange decision, you know. I do feel sorry for Maguire. He never put the price tag on him. He's had a bad year, but same with Shaw. You know, a lot of people who come after these Euros started very, very poorly. Look at Harry Kane towards us start of the season. He not scored a goal in that, and he's back to the Harry Kane we know. So hopefully. You know, Luke Shaw was another one. Very strange. In and out the United team. Doesn't look fit, you know. Yeah. Because the season before last, name me a better fullback in the Premiership. You couldn't because he was the best, you know. Just strange. And hopefully if he can obviously kick on the careers next year at United, you know. Shaw, I was there that night. Shaw broke his leg in Holland, you know. He's to come back from that, you know. My hat goes off to him. But for me, I think what might help Harry Maguire is taking the captaincy off him. That burden of weight, captain, one of the biggest clubs in world football, could have an effect on someone. And for me, it looks like it's having an effect on him. You know, and for me, it's not making Varane look the player he is. He looks shaky sometimes alongside him. You know, as you think he's going to have to cover his mistakes, cover him. But it's only that way he can improve and realise the size of the club he's at. But it didn't shock me that Southgate picked him. He likes him. He always starts him, you know. So, and like you, Soph, I won't even be watching England. I think I'll be watching next door's car.
Fair play. In terms of Maguire, look, I think it's obviously not based on club form, is it? But his form in the Euros for England was outstanding. Nobody can deny that, whether you're a Maguire hater or not. Like how he played for England in the Euros and Luke Shaw, they were both absolute quality. And I think Southgate's obviously picked it based on how they've played for England in terms of in the Euros and not how they've done. He kind of based it on form in the league because it's been dreadful. And me, like you, I hope Maguire gets the armband and comes back stronger and he proves to everyone that actually, you know what, he is good enough. And I hope that happens. Of course I do. I mean, I've been one of them who's tried to defend him as much as I possibly can, and quite simply, I can't. Like some of the performances recently have been dreadful, but it's not only been him. But I agree with the Varane comment as well. I think I felt a bit more confident with Lindelof and Varane as a combo than I have with Maguire and Varane personally. Yeah. Let's briefly go through then. Like from the top of your head, what players would you get rid of then? If it was hypothetical, obviously contract situation. So you've got the likes of Pogba and Lingard. So let's count them as gone anyway. But other than that, like what? Is there anybody like? Because I've seen people like on Twitter and stuff saying, you know what, McTominay gone, Bruno gone, and I'm thinking, like let's be realistic. Do you know what I mean? Let's be realistic about who we can get rid of.
Like I said before, so there's going to be a massive change round at the club this summer. We probably could see up to 6 or 7 or 8 players leaving. Obviously, the ones out of contract, you know. Yeah. And I don't blame him in a way. I always look at Steve McManaman when he was at Liverpool, how Liverpool let him run down his contract and move to Madrid. You know, under Fergie, if he was 18 months, you'd be gone. You're not signing it, you're up for sale.
Which is a club's fault for getting to this,
Yeah, of course. Well, Pogba's took the mickey twice now. He's not going to sign a contract. There's the word on the street he signed for Madrid, so we wish him well. You know, but, you know, you're playing for Manchester United, you know. How long's he been there now? 5-6 years. Count on one hand. The good games he's played for United. He should be running games. I should be saying to you now, Soph, we want to break the bank for him. We need to break the bank and keep him at the club. But no, because for me, he doesn't dominate games, which he shouldn't. No. People going about, he's a World Cup winner. Well, so was Cleberson. You know what I mean? So was Cleberson. But I look at that French team, and Kante's the man who made Pogba the player he looked. You know, and that's what I don't really come on or speak to people about transfers because, you know, United were linked with 125,000 players. But once Conte couldn't get in that Chelsea team, we should have gone there and grabbed him. And he was for sale. We could have got him for 50, 60 million, but we never.
Yeah.
But I'd say Pogba, Jesse, probably, I don't know. One matches might
Cavani.
go, but I reckon he's good. Cavani's gone.
Yeah.
You know.
He's going to go.
And I was saying on the channel the other day, so after this Youth Cup final, or even before, I've thrown 3 or 4 of those kids in the squad, get them to the Lowry, give them a club tracksuit, let them drive on one of the coaches to Old Trafford. I've maybe one on the bench because these kids have got no fear. They'll run through brick walls here. Some of these players we got now couldn't give a monkey's shove about our club. They don't realise what it's like. And that's the disheartening part about it. Not about them going out to restaurants or popcorn. They just don't get the culture of the club and how big it is and how hurting us fans are. But we need them to put, like you're saying, so there could be 6 or 7 leave. So whoever's coming in has got to have those targets to replace them. You know, so it's going to be hard. So I'd say Pogba, Jesse.
We've got in here Henderson. Henderson, I think, could be one as well, to be fair. I could see that.
I feel sorry for his own goalkeeper. Yeah, for the goalkeepers. But what got me there, he was going on about it. Obviously, he took to Hayes' place. But I don't even remember the game against Liverpool last season. Some of the goals he let in. It's like you see on the Sunday Park, his position. And I thought, is he really a number one for us? Really deep down, is he good enough? You know, so probably Henderson will go to save his career. I don't think he'll want to go on loan again.
I think he's good enough to be, well, he's proven, like, for Sheffield United and teams like that. Like, I think he's good enough to be a Premier League number one now. Henderson.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But
do you know what I mean? So that's why I think he would be wanting to go.
So I think Bailly will go. I think Phil Jones is going to stay there for life. But even with that, though, I look at that game he played against. Is it Villa in the Cup? He played well.
Yeah. He did.
Not been seen against.
Did he get man of the match?
Got man of the match, and rightly so.
Yeah, he did.
You know, I'm not one of Philip Jones's biggest fans, but fair play to the lad that night. He played brilliant, and he was in and around the squad. And then it just seemed like they forgot about him. So staying fit, if he could stay fit, it'd be a great addition to have there. But it's whether he can stay fit. That's Philip's problem. But on his day, he's as good as anyone we've got.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Show said here, players that I think will leave: Henderson, Boye. Jones has been put there. I don't think Jones will go still. I think there's more chance of Boye going than Jones. Pogba, Mata, Lingard, Donny, Martial. I mean, these two are out on loan at the minute. Martial, I know, is getting some stick from Sevilla fans. And Donny, obviously, he's gone to Everton. He's been all right, to be fair, at Everton, but he's in a very struggling team, isn't he, at the minute? What about them two? I think Donny's still got time here at United.
I'm a massive fan of Anthony Martial. I'm a massive fan. You know, and for me, goal scorers, whoever you are, once you score, it breeds confidence, you know, and he wasn't getting the goals. You look at the season before last in the lockdown, he actually against Sheffield United.
Yeah.
You know, in his day, Martial, unfortunately, don't have two great days all the time, but who does? But I thought it was a strange decision. Also, we didn't know what was going to happen with Mason for him to let him go. You know, I think once a player at that age and has been at a club that goes out on loan, I don't think that he'll stay. But like you're saying, who will want to check him? You know, he's getting in the air after Sevilla fans already, which, you know, they want to see the work rate. You know, he's not putting that in. I've not watched any of his performances, but I'd like to see him stay and get another new chance under the manager. And with Donny, it's an hard one, you know, because I look at him there and I'm thinking, well, he's not in the Dutch squad where he's been training, so he must be showing the staff what he's got, you know. So I remember the next player saying to me, Webby, he just might not be good enough. You know, and I looked at him there and I'm thinking, well, you could be right. You know, he's got this chance to shine in training and whatever, because he wasn't getting it on the pitch. And he just said to me, I never thought he's just not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, so
I've had that thought.
I'd like him to stay, you know, get another chance. It all depends who's coming in. If it's Ten Hag, then it'd be like his dad coming in, wouldn't it? You know, he knows how he plays. Didn't want him to leave Ajax, wanted to take him back to Ajax. So, like you're saying, it's gonna be a very interesting, but it's got to be a good appointment for the club. Else we'll be back on here next year, further down the line.
Yeah, you're right. And in terms of the manager coming in as well, I'm thinking maybe they will have a look at the likes of Donny, the likes of Martial before making a decision as well, because, like you say, talented, especially Martial there, he's someone who's capable of that special moment, and when he is on form, he's unplayable at times, isn't he? Yeah. Maybe a new manager coming in is thinking, you know what, let's give him pre-season before we make a decision and give him a chance. Do you know what I mean? Because he's that kind of player where you kind of think, we could regret it if you let him go. Do you know what I mean? It could be one of them to come back to bite you. Definitely with Martial, that's the calibre again. In terms of Donny, I agree. I was thinking he mustn't be doing it in training. Surely, all the fans are screaming it. Like everyone can see, we need to change in midfield. We need to freshen it up. We need to keep the ball better in midfield. And Donny seems to have all those attributes from what we've seen at Ajax and that lot. But at our club, maybe he just isn't showing that. And that's why I was excited about the move to Everton. To be fair, I was thinking, you know what, he's still in the Premier League. He's got to have to scrap. Maybe we'll see the best of Donny, but it is a tough one to judge him in as well in that relegation battle almost, isn't it? So
I couldn't tell you how he's played. I've not watched any. You're saying he's done okay for Everton. I didn't know. Was he cup-tied for yesterday? Was he cup-tied?
I don't know if he's cup-tied or injured, you know. I did wonder that. I didn't watch it. But I saw the squads and he wasn't put there.
I was actually going to sit down and actually watch and see how he's good, because I know one of his first games, a friend of mine who's an Everton season ticket holder said, he played brilliant, but let's have it right. So the amount of space Leeds gives you, hard look good in the midfield. You know, you can expect yourself against Leeds. You know, it's your games against tougher teams where you've got to be put up. But hopefully he comes back, you know, and like you're saying, if Ten Hag's the manager, I think he'll keep him. But Martial, I don't know. It's hard. It all depends on the next manager. Matt have already said we're not interested. We want him to go. We want him to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. Another player who could be leaving is Pereira, pre-season Pirlo. Have I read this? Have I dreamt it? That wasn't they're trying to. Is it Flamengo where he's at the moment, and they're trying to break down the deal or something? I wanted to send him back. Basically, I read something not long ago. And
I can remember him got to
Lazio.
He went to Lazio, didn't he, at first?
Yeah,
and it didn't work out for him there. Then he's gone back over there. Nothing against the lad. You know, I'll never forget that goal he scored against Southampton. You know, and obviously the one he was on about, was it Brentford he scored? The quality goal, was it? No disrespect, he's just not good enough for United, you know, fair play. No. You know, he's tried his best, been given the chances, and you have to hold your hands up and say, I'm just not good enough. He'll get a living out of it if he's not going already. I wish him all the best, but to be honest, Soph, I've totally forgot all about him.
There you go. Agreed with Flamengo. I'm sure I read something that they weren't happy with him and they wanted to send him back, and then there's a breakdown talks. Maybe that's obviously been resolved now. But yeah, I agree. I think it's one of these where fair play to him. He had a moment in him. He had a few belters in this, few great goals. Technically very gifted, but simply just not cut out for it. Unfortunately, it's just not good enough. But he's good. Definitely will be good enough to play elsewhere. Abroad definitely seems to suit him a bit more, doesn't it, as well? But pre-season, he always seemed to shine, didn't he? Can you see Dylan Lewitt and Diallo staying, or Ahmad obviously, or leaving, who are both currently on loan at Rangers and Dundee? You know what? I watched the first game for Ahmad for Rangers and he scored, didn't he? Then I watched the Old Firm, and he got bullied. I'm pretty sure he got subbed at half time, didn't he? He got pulled at half time. He got absolutely battered from pillar to post. But then I haven't really seen anything since. From what I'm guessing, is Ahmad hasn't really cut it at Rangers. I don't know if you've heard any more. Webby,
not really about, like saying, just seeing him score that tapping on his debut, and then let's say, like, the manager should have realised not to play him at Celtic Park. You know, you're putting a bruiser who's been in there and done it and wore the t-shirt and putting him. But going on to Dylan Levitt, scored a goal Saturday for Dundee United. Seems to be loved up there, you know, putting it about. You know, will he make the grade at United? I'm not too sure. But he's loving life up there. Spoke to his mother, who's saying she goes up all the time, and he's loving it up there. He's loving the life. He's loving playing football. You know, great. But the one for me who's got to be given a chance is Mr. Garner. You know, Jimmy Garner. You know, Yeah, watched him yesterday. Been watching quite a lot of him at Forest.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a great move for him, you know, because he come into the team towards the end of not last season, the season before, did okay, didn't look strong enough, but you're playing against men week in, week out, because that championship's an hard league. Got to be given a chance. You know, if we don't, then surely if Forest come up, then they'll want to try and keep him on loan or buy him, you know. No, I just think that he looks apart. He looks apart. And one thing we've not got, Soph, is someone who can hit a cross and hit a corner, and this kid can deliver. You know, I'm not saying that's everything about the game, but if
he
you
had a few good passes yesterday, didn't he, against Liverpool?
He didn't look out of place neither. Looked like he'd been playing against that kind of opposition for a few years. So that should just bear fruit for United. But hopefully they'll make the right decision and they bring him back and he gets a chance, because I'm not saying he's the answer we need, but he's just as good as what we've got already.
Yeah. Eamon said the new manager will give every player a clean slate, even Captain Harry, hopefully Captain No More. I think it will. It's got to be like that, hasn't it? Coming in, clean slate, start fresh, and then the manager's going to make it his own, as in, like, players have got to go. We've already listed the ones who we think will go in.
Surely now, Soph, as we're sat here chatting now, the football club have got the new manager already sorted, because now we've got to be looking at players.
You'd like to think.
To ship in and ship out, but it wouldn't surprise me. I've just seen it on Sky News that there's a list of four people. Who are the other two? You know, they're saying there's a list of four. So obviously
Ancelotti, I think, might be one.
Ancelotti 10 years ago, all day long, 10 years ago. But he looks a bit bitter and battered man on that sideline at the Bernabeu last night when that fourth goal was going in. You know, don't get me wrong, Ancelotti was a great player for Milan in that great Milan team with all the great stars. But I think now as a manager, you know, he did a decent job at Everton. Soon dropped shit when Madrid coming to, which who wouldn't, you know what I mean? It's Real Madrid. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world. But Ancelotti, to me, is an 80s manager like Van Gaal was. If it was 1987 say the 90s manager, 1997, all day long as having. But I think now that ship's passed in my eyes.
And I know the other one, it's not concrete at all, but it's just ever since the Chelsea situation's happened, Tuchel has been linked. I would take him. He would be my preferred option if it was the option. I'd take him. But
there's another one. When PSG got rid of him, he was fishing for 6 months. Chelsea, you know, I'm not I love the Chelsea Football Club and anything to do with him, but Lampard, in my eyes, was a bigger legend, or as big as Solskjaer was at United in their eyes. He wasn't doing the job. Bye-bye, sacked him and got him in. 6 months later, the European champions. You know, so I think United have got to be a bit more ruthless and not be bothered about upsetting ex-players or anybody.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the last one, obviously, I know we're not here to talk about Chelsea, we're here to talk about United, but thoughts on that whole situation? Like, with Abramovich, obviously, the fact that the fans can't buy tickets and whatnot. Like, apparently they've got a lot of bidders, a lot of suitors.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have been saying, if United went up for sale, there'd be loads of bidders. Of course there would be. But you have to think as well, there's no option. Abramovich has to sell Chelsea by the looks of it. He's going to have to sell them. So, of course, there's going to be people interested because they've got no choice, have they, but to do that. The Glazers don't have to sell us.
No, they don't have to sell. I wish they would sell us, you know.
Of course,
you know,
we all do.
You know, it's hard. You know, it's the amount of false promises they've made. It's like they want to speak to the fans. Well, I don't want to be in that room with you because you won't invite me in anyway. But these fans are now virtually, you know, just being yes men. You know, some of the must and we've asked people to come on our channel and speak to us as fans. Yeah, maybe we will do. Then they blank your calls. They don't want to know because they're in bed with them now, getting the money off them. We want best for this club, and if that for 99.9% of fans would be the Glazers going, and they could get the money what they want. You know what I mean? And you look at it. Do you know what? Deep down, I've got a few mates who are Chelsea fans who were there when they had no money and they were struggling, and they can't even go to matches now. I feel sorry for them, you know, because it's part of their life, like it is ours, going to matching. But that could always happen with Abramovich. You know, you know the song what United fans sings about him. You know that he's done some backhand dealings, you know, and he got the club, you know. So things like this, and obviously we didn't want a war for this to come out to make all this public. But there was always a chance with his background that something like this had happened, you know. But is it right that there was no Chelsea fans at Middlesbrough? Am I correct?
And Chelsea asked for it to be behind closed doors, didn't they?
Closed doors, you know. So fair play to him, Soph, about them going down a very difficult ground and getting a good, because Chelsea are a good team, you know, the European champions.
Can't deny that,
You can't deny that, but Chelsea will be sold, you know, and Mr. Abramovich has had his plaything for a few years, and Chelsea will still remain strong. But I hope one day I come on here and we're speaking about our club being sold for the right reasons, and we can move on, because their time is now. It makes it worse, and that we're not winning, so the more pressure is going to be put on them. Because if you look at it, probably our best ever period up till Ferguson leaves was with the Glazers in charge of all the European Cup finals, winning the league. The green and gold thing suddenly went away, but they don't even understand the football club. That's what I mean. They don't care about the fans. The European Super League summed it up for me, and it wasn't just the Glazers. All the big boys jumped on it, and if the protest wouldn't have been what it had been, that thing could be moving along down the line, but we nipped it in the bud straight away. So they're only in it for money, which is understandable. It's their business. But I pray the day we come in here speaking about our clubs being sold to the right people.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Webby. Couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, I mean, as a United fan at the minute, I think deflated, numb are the words I would use. It's frustrating. I agree with you. I think we're far away from where we need to be. But hopefully this summer, we do have that clear out. We do start that clean slate. We get the right man in, and things are starting to look up again. That's all we can do now as fans, isn't it? Just hope that they make the right decision and get the right man in. And until then, really, we're just seeing the season out, if we're honest, didn't we? I mean, after what's happened, top 4, do you see us scraping that? I mean, I can't see it, Webby. I cannot see it.
No.
Teams around us are playing well, and we're shocking.
No, the Watford game got it for me,
Yeah.
No disrespect to Watford, but if you can't score against Watford, then you don't deserve to be in the top 4. But I look at it there. What do I want? If we're not in the top 4, I'd rather finish 10th. We don't go in that Europa Conference or the Eurovision Song Contest, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's just not where United should be. United should be under the floodlights. Kids waving that banner, listening to that Champions League music. But if you don't play well, you don't deserve to be in it.
Of course
that's the most disheartening about it. That after being out of it for a few years, our record in that's been terrible.
Yeah.
It's quarterfinals. One year we never got out of the group stages. Last 16 getting beaten. I know because I seen Mourinho rant about it the other day from a few years back.
I saw that as well from the press conference. Yeah.
And it's like you're saying, you don't deserve to be in that if you're not coming out. And I really think after that Watford game, top 4 went. So, but you never know.
Agree.
Take each game as it comes, but it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, it's that point anyway. We're relying on other teams to drop points, and at the minute they don't look like they're gonna. But it's Premier League, anything can happen. I'm sure Will Stoll drop points as well. You mentioned we've got City and that, City. Sorry, you mentioned we've got some big games coming up. City in the Champions League as well. Atletico up next. I think they'll batter Atletico, like you said. Well, not batter them, but I think they'll definitely do a job over them. Which is what we couldn't do. And I think again we'll see the difference between us and them. We've got Arsenal still to come up in the league as well. Which, exactly. It's an interesting one. Anything can happen. We'll see what happens. But Webby, thank you so much for coming on. I absolutely appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Great to talk
always
to
a
you.
pleasure.
Let people know about your channel as well, where people can come and subscribe to you as well, Webby.
Yeah, we've been going about a year and a half now. Me and Tony, a lot of people know Tony from United days in the 70s and 80s. We just had a chat and said, let's do it. And it's gone well. I think we got 42,000 subscribers. We're quite lucky that we know, obviously, a lot of the class of 92 and me working for them. So there's interviews on there, the Gadder, Ryan, Paul Scholes, and other people who we know, some boxers, some pop stars, they're all good lads and they've helped the channel out. So enjoying it, it's, and like you're saying, it's hard to be positive at the moment, but we try and remain positive. So just if you fancy joining the Webby O'Neill channel, it's 2 Reds with over 80, 90 years of following United all over the world. And like you're saying, we enjoy doing it, but it's better when we win and we're successful. But hopefully, those days will return. Yeah,
fingers crossed. Make sure you go and subscribe to it. Fantastic channel. I'm subscribed. I love all the interviews that they do. I love all the shots from outside Old Trafford as well. I just think it looks class. So big respect to you and Tony for that. Great channel. And thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Please drop a like on the video if you're new. Hit the sub on Ladies in Red as well. I'll be back again later on this week. I'll drop a tweet out. If I have missed your comments, just drop a comment afterwards. I always check them there as well. But have a good evening and we'll see you soon.